Hi, I'm Kim Thorpe and I want to take you on a bit of a history of change management over the last 30 odd years. Change management was first defined as part of ITIL and used in information systems deployment. So it was mainly around documentation of changes to information systems and also around training of users. Very much a technical response to changes that were made in information systems. The predominant thinking was that someone had a job to do and it involved various processes. When you were changing those processes, what you had to do was simply add some training on top of what they already did, and they would then have that knowledge and then use that system. Of course, we all know that that's not quite how things work. All of us have been to training sessions where we're less than enthused, or we go away without necessarily changing practices. That's the limitations of the thinking around change management in the 1980s. One of the key thinkers in the 1990s, of course, was John Cotter, who wrote a book and it was released in 1996 around leading change. And he had his 8-step model. ProSci was also developed around the same time, and with that understanding that simply changing processes and providing people with information around those change processes is not enough to actually achieve the outcomes that are desired for a particular project. The key difference in Cotter's approach was that it had an understanding around bringing people along for the ride. Identifying stakeholders, identifying the impact on those stakeholders, communicating, understanding the impact, but also understanding resistance, and provided some great tools for overcoming that resistance. And still today, it's a widely accepted framework that continues to have credibility amongst in all projects. The ProSci approach is similar, and in fact is still gaining credibility, and more people are adopting the ProSci approach, which is very much around a planned approach to change. You assess what's going on, you create a plan, and you deliver on that plan. That has its limitations. And these limitations were alluded to in the fact that Cotter had had a number of books, but his book called Accelerate in 2014, so only 4 years ago, he changed his 8-step model, made it a lot more flexible, had a clear understanding of networks over hierarchies, had a clear understanding about the need for agility within a change management model. So even Cotter himself has moved away from his 8-step model to change management. Let's also look at some of the other impacts or limitations of the currently accepted model around change management. Current change management approaches are useful in closed systems where there's not a lot of change, such as this pond. Introduce a change, we see the ripples throughout, and the tools that approaches that we currently use are useful for that. However, if we look wider and think of the system within a system, we can see that the environment is actually changing. Heraclitus said that no man ever steps in the same river twice, because it's not the same river and he's not the same man. It's a bit the same with change management these days. Our understanding is that organisations are changing more quickly than ever before, and the environment is changing ever more quickly than ever before. The challenge there is about how organisations adapt to that change. So I see my role as assisting organisations to develop their adaptive strategies, helping them develop capabilities in the organisation to sense and respond, that is, to adapt to the environment. The key things that we find useful around that is working inside with organisations and not outside for organisations. It's about them understanding that this is a journey about developing capabilities and not an event. It's about being system savvy. So employing strategies for developing their organisation's understanding about systems, and about being brain savvy, about a better understanding of how our brain is wired, so therefore how we react both as individuals and teams and in organisations when put under threat. So that brings together some of the concepts around how we approach change and how the concepts around developing capability for organisations and helping them develop their adaptive strategies as on the continual journey to boost their performance. Thank you.